The Creator is a science fiction thriller action film directed by Gareth Edwards, written by him and Chris Weitz. Tells the story of Joshua, a soldier who is on a mission. However, things go terribly wrong and he loses his loved one, his wife. And many years later, he is told she is still alive. And with the mission gone wrong, he's the only one that knows how to get to a weapon. For backstory, when AI was invented, a whole new species was created, basically of simulants and AI robots. There are ones that have human faces and ones that don't, and then there's just smaller ones too. Anyways, a terrible thing happened and a war started. So America created a $1 trillion satellite called Nomad and went to war against New Asia. And that's sort of like the main conflict, this giant war. And our protagonist Joshua is going to lead a mission to find his wife, who's still alive, and stop a super weapon created by Nirmata, which is like a prophet of sorts, a super scientist that's created a weapon. However, Joshua ends up finding the weapon, and it ends up being a little kid, whom he nicknames Alfie. Alfie is a sort of hybrid AI human being that can be the bridge between both worlds, or it could be its destruction. So that's sort of the core hook of this film. I was riveted by this film, to be honest. It felt like a really absorbing video game movie, like, you know, when you're watching the cutscenes and it's really good. The character development's there. You got that sort of gritty sci-fi vibe in the vein of like Chappie or District 9 or Elysium. But you're also throwing in the emotional core too. There's a really heavy and deeply affecting and moving emotional story behind everything. And, you know, a lot of people might not like the sort of video game-like story aspect because, you know, you're getting like a piece of story and then like an action sequence. And then a piece of story, action sequence, introduce new characters. But I think the film's greatest strength has to be the sense of hopelessness. If you've watched Star Wars Rogue One, you know what I'm talking about. It feels like a hopeless mission where the rebels have to go up against this monumental force. And in this movie, Allison Janney steals the show as a vicious, I don't know, she's a general or something, or she's some sort of badass lady, mercenary, who's just like really good at her job. And she's got her whole team and she's trying to like kill the Alfie. And she represents the force of power that the United States in the future has. They have these giant resources and they're trying to wipe out all AI on the planet, regardless of who's harboring or who's working. And they have their giant, you know, gargantuan drone strike thing in the sky, and that becomes like sort of military superpower that everyone's trying to fight. And, you know, Joshua ends up finding the resistance and they're trying to like find a way to stop Nomad. However, you know, the movie has that sort of like real stakes sort of built into it. It's not, there's not a, oh, you're alive after 5 minutes. It's like if someone gets blown up in this movie or shot, they're dead. It's like, it's hopeless. It's over. You know, you find yourself surrounded. You're kind of like outgunned, outmanned. It has that sort of tense hopelessness to it. In terms of acting, the little girl does a really good job as Alfie, and then you got Gemma Chan in a small role as the wife. But you know, a lot of people don't like Denzel's son. I think he's okay. He's a little bland in the role, you know, but I think they're going for that on purpose. You know, they want someone who's not too complex. He's just trying to like find one thing, and he does get overshadowed by a few other actors. You know, there's his friend, and then there's Allison Janney as a sort of one of the antagonists, and then there's also the general guy. And you know, the movie moves along at a pretty brisk pace. There is some nitpicks I have, small ones, a little bit rushed at the end. You know, the last like half hour is pretty rushed. And they have these like cue cards that show up for different chapters. But honestly, The Creator is an amazingly like crafted film, visually stunning, just enough world building. It does have like the brutal, violent action, but it also has the emotional core to sort of string everything together. So it's not just you know, pew 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 kind of story. There's some themes that they get to jump into, not too much. It's definitely more trying to deliver a, you know, thrill ride, but there's also a little bit of intellectualism in there too. Overall, I loved it, and I give The Creator a perfect 10.